Mr. Holston, would you please take your seat? It is. Good evening and welcome to the July 11th, 2023 meeting of the Greensboro City Council. We are in the Katie Dorsett Council Chamber. People wishing to speak must sign up by 6 o'clock by using the Q-Minder kiosk just outside the council door. Please see the courier for assistance. Let the record reflect that all members are in attendance except for Council Member Matheny. I need a motion to excuse Mr. Matheny.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Wells, seconded by Mrs. Abuzawaiter. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And that passes 8-0. Please silence any electronic devices. If you must make or receive a phone call, kindly do so from outside the chamber. We will begin tonight's meeting with a moment of silence. Thank you. Mrs. Hightower, would you lead us in the pledge? We welcome speakers to address Council on specific agenda items. During the first meeting of the month, time is dedicated for speakers to address Council on non-agenda items. Speakers are allotted 3 minutes for comments. At this time, all handouts should be provided to the City Clerk or the courier for distribution to Council. Speakers should not approach the dais unless invited by Council. The City of Greensboro is committed to promoting an environment that is free of discrimination, bias, and bullying. In order to maintain a safe space for all speakers, starting today, members of the audience or speakers from the podium who intentionally disrupt the meeting or ridicule other speakers will be given a warning, and if unheeded, they will be removed from the meeting. That person will be suspended for in-person participation for 3 months. In order to preserve their right to free speech, they can attend virtually by Zoom, by phone, or by email. It is the goal of the City Council that this chamber is a welcoming space and that our residents feel empowered to bring issues of concern before their elected officials. I would like to ask the City Council for a vote in support of this new procedure.
Move to approve that procedure. Second.
So it was moved by Mrs. Thurm, seconded by Mrs. Abuzawaiter, and that can be a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. And that passes 7-1.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
If I may just make a comment, please. Just wanted to say that I support you 100% on this. I've heard from many people in the community that they're hesitant to come down to City Council because of the disruptions, and I think this is a really good move. I appreciate you asking us for a vote, and I fully support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Madam Mayor, since I voted no, let me be clear, okay? And I voted no because I don't want to limit free speech. While I understand the disruption needs to be controlled, I think we have to be careful how we show our actions toward the public. This is the people's house. It's not our house. I'm not a parent. And so while I know there have been some people who have probably abused their rights to be here, I think we can exhibit it in a different way, in a different manner. And I've heard some of my colleagues say, well, actions have consequences. They do. Everything we do has a consequence. Everything we do has a consequence. I don't care what it is, good, bad, or ugly. And so therefore, I don't feel in my heart that I can honestly support this. And I expressed my concern at the work session. This is not new to you all. I've said it then. I'll say it tonight. And therefore, I think we should have had a little bit more dialogue and a little bit more way of framing this, if you will. There are things that are happening to our speech, and to restrict it in this manner, yeah, if they are disruptive, we ask them to leave, we escort them out, yes. But to say, okay, nah, you can't come back, I don't think, for me, that is the appropriate action. So therefore, that's the reason I voted no.
Thank you, Mr. Alston.
And Madam Mayor, I voted yes also for the resolution. I am concerned, however, about free speech, and it's important, as Councilwoman Hightower said, that this is the people's house, but we also have the people's business to conduct, and so I think it's important that the individual is given a warning first, and if not, then they will be escorted out. The good thing is that they still have the opportunity to listen to the meeting on our virtual network and then come back within 3 months. But for me, free speech is important, but also business decorum is a good close second.
And it's important to note, while they cannot attend in person, they certainly can attend by Zoom, by phone, or by email. So I do not feel that we are impinging on anybody's right to free speech. We are just making this a more welcoming environment for people who have expressed concern of the atmosphere during city council meetings. And I feel that this is a good balance between free speech and getting the people's work done. Thank you.
Amen.
Zoom participants are requested to mute their microphones until they are called upon to speak. All meeting attendees are expected to respect speakers and council deliberations. People disrupting the meeting will be removed from the meeting. By statute, council members must vote on all items unless there is a direct financial interest or if they sit up on a board of a nonprofit receiving funding from the city. All votes will be moved and seconded. The mayor will announce the vote total. We have a consent agenda for items G1 through G8, which are a grouping of agenda items that are voted on with one single vote to expedite what are believed to be routine and non-controversial items. Any council member may withdraw an item from the consent agenda due to a conflict of interest or for the purpose of voting no. Items removed from the consent agenda for discussion will be placed on the August 2nd City Council business agenda. This meeting does include closed captioning. Depending on the length of tonight's meeting, we may take a short recess around 7:30. This is the time for our ceremonial and presentation items. Item E1, Mr. City Manager, do you have a report?
Oh, well, I do not have a report, but I have an introduction to make to Mayor and Council. So I do have a colleague of mine visiting us from Fort Belvoir, Virginia, Miss Andrea White. She's the Director of Plans, Analysis, and Integration at the office at Fort Belvoir. So several months ago, the International City County Managers Association put together a partnership between local government, local municipalities, and the United States military, so they can learn how we operate and we can exchange ideas together. So many military installations operate as small towns or cities with many of the same challenges and opportunities that we face as cities. So the ICMA partnered with the U.S. Army to prepare individuals who manage our military installations through a city-county management fellowship. So 16 cities, including Greensboro, were selected, as well as Army garrisons and installations in or near those communities. So our city is partnered with Ms. Andrea White, who is the director. As I said, she's a retired veteran with dedicated 20 years of service to the United States Army. She was hand-selected to be installed as the director at Fort Belvoir in Virginia, and she's charged with providing management and direction to establish a team whose expertise is in strategic planning, review, analysis, performance measurement, and management. Ms. White has professional aeronautics degree from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, and she sits on the board of Prince William County Chamber of Commerce. We've enjoyed having her here with us. She's met with the various city departments heads, as well as the Chamber and East Greensboro now. She also visited our International Civil Rights Museum today, while she's here, she's enjoyed quite a few of what Greensboro has to offer. So I'd like her to just say a few words to us.
Please,
Thank
if you would approach the podium.
So I do want to thank Tao and his wonderfully smart team for hosting Fort Belvoir, and I'm here representing the garrison commander of Fort Belvoir, and on this opportunity for discovery. This has been a great learning environment, and so what I've discovered is that, as Tao said, that most military posts are just very small, cities, and ran very much the same. And so what I found is that we are more alike than we are different. And so I don't really want to expound on all that. I think that kind of, sums it up. But I have met some wonderful folks here, and I am very much appreciative of being privy to the city's vision of action. And so I just want to thank you for the hosting and of the invite, and that's all I have.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We will now move on to item E2, which is a resolution honoring the late William Wellesley McGuire, and that will be read by Mrs. Hightower and Dr. Wells.
Thank you very much. This is to remember one of our great community workers that we lost most recently. So the resolution to honor the memory of the late William Wesley McGuire. Whereas on April the 26, 2023, the community lost an outstanding community member with the passing of the late William Wesley McGuire. Whereas Mr. McGuire was born May 22, 1940, in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Starting a life of community involvement, he participated in the Boy Scouts of America at an early age. Whereas he graduated from E.E. Smith High School and attended the North Carolina Agricultural and Technical A&T State University in Greensboro. Whereas he served the United States of America as a paratrooper in the United States Reserve for 7 years at Fort Bragg, now called Fort Liberty, North Carolina. Whereas following his move to Greensboro in the 1950s, Mr. McGuire acquired the respect label of the Kings Forest Neighborhood Guardian. Whereas, over time, Mr. McGuire was employed at Sears Distribution Center, the City of Greensboro Parks and Recreation Department, Guilford Technical Community College, First Student, and Black Diamond Transportation.
Whereas Mr. McGuire, West as he was lovingly known, was respected as a key community supporter and advocate. He served as a member and the treasurer of the Concerned Citizens of Northeast Greensboro. He was involved at the Peeler Recreation Center, East Side Civitans, East Greensboro Pioneers, Greensboro's Voters Alliance, the Renaissance Co-op, McGirt-Horton Library, political campaigns, Old North State Elks Lodge number 87, the American Legion, and the Sportsman's Club. Whereas additionally, his community servanthood also included 15 years on the Greensboro Transit Authority Board, later renamed the Greensboro Transit Advisory Commission. He also served on the trustee board and volunteered at the Summer Enrichment Program and security team at Shiloh Baptist Church in Greensboro. Whereas Wes was lovingly known as a positive and caring force, dedicating considerable time doing for others, and was an inspiring example of love and acceptance. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Greensboro that the City Council wishes to express its sense of loss and offer its condolences, sincere appreciation, and gratitude for the many years of dedicated community service by William Wesley McGuire. The legacy he leaves will be remembered by the residents of Greensboro. That a copy of this resolution shall be delivered to the family of the late William Wesley McGuire as a symbol of the gratitude of the residents of the city of Greensboro for his contributions to the community. Adopted this 11th day of July, 2023. I move this acceptance.
It was moved, in the system they moved, I moved it, you
You've already
seconded
moved,
it.
okay. You seconded. And I'm seconded.
I'm third, Nick.
Third by Mayor Pro.
Thank you.
Council, please vote.
Well, we have his daughter Nikki here and his son Ron, who's up from Florida, and then there are some people on Zoom. If they would come forward and receive the resolution and say a few words.
Hugh. Hugh, you have a copy of this? Two. Yeah, welcome.
Anytime a parent dies, it's not an easy thing to deal with for anybody.
Mike
I'm
is
probably
on.
need to speak up. When I got the news that my father died, it was tough, but visions have been going through my head since that moment, that my father was being welcomed by the ancestors. That's been the beauty of the death. As I was driving here, the vision continued with my father and the ancestors looking on this evening, smiling, proud of everything that's going on, proud of him. I thank you all on behalf of the McGuire family for your recognition and continue to do the good work that you do. And Wesley will continue smiling. That's what I call my dad, Wesley. So that's what you will hear me say. But I loved him, and I know you all loved him, and our whole family loved him. Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
I also would like to acknowledge Mr. Betty Lyons, who was a long-time friend of Wes, companion. They hung out a lot together, so I know she's feeling his loss as well, and I know his family, just as his family, and the community. Wes was really instrumental in the community. He loved his church, Shiloh, and so it's kind of odd to go to Shiloh and Wes not be there to open the door, and he would be the last one to leave. So he really made an impact. So thank you all for sharing him with us, family. Thank you.
Wes
Thank
was
you.
not only community work, he was my neighbor right across the street. And that list that I read of all those organizations, we worked together in the community in most of those ventures, and he did love the community and was faithful. And of course, we will miss him in our community.
Madam Clerk, was there anyone on Zoom who wished to comment?
I think they had just wanted to participate, Madam Mayor, to be able to hear what was happening.
Thank you. Mrs. Abusawader?
Yes, I just wanted to say to the family and those that are watching and friends that are in the audience of Wes and Miss Betty and everyone else, we've known Wes for 20, 25 years through Concerned Citizens and in the eastern part of our community. And, you know, you walk into a room, you would know that Wesley was there because his big smile just took over the whole room. But you also knew if he was a little irritated. So, you know, that goes right along with it. But he had the biggest smile, and he always greeted everyone with open, welcoming arms, and just a delight to know. So this whole community misses him, and I want each of you to know that. Thank you.
Well, I certainly will miss him. I remember one time Wes went with us fishing, and I had this little spot, and I was catching these fish, and every time I catch one, Wes would throw his line right there on top of mine. I wish he was here to do that today, but he's doing greater things. Thank you for lending us a wonderful, wonderful servant.
Thank you. Item number E3 is a resolution to honor the late Richard H. Bowling IV, and that will be read by Mayor Pro Tem Johnson and Mr. Holston.
A resolution to honor the memory of the late Richard H. Bowling IV. Whereas on May 8, 2023, the community lost an outstanding community member with the passing of the late Richard H. Bowling IV. Whereas as a native of Greensboro, Mr. Bowling was born January the 4th, 1939, lived and worked long hours on the family farm as a young child, and worked at the family-owned sound system company in his teenage years, where he grew to appreciate and value work ethics and responsibilities. Whereas Mr. Bowling graduated from James B. Dudley High School, and he went advancing in pursuit of higher education and attended North Carolina State University. Whereas when his collegiate studies were interrupted by the draft to serve in the United States Army for 2 years, he returned to school after serving his country to obtain an electric engineering degree. Whereas during his tenure at North Carolina State University, Mr. Bowling participated in various sports leagues, tournaments, and competitions held within the university. This is not written, but I know that's the truth because he loved competition. And he taught chess to many students at Hayes Taylor Y when it was on Market Street, and he could beat most anybody in anything. Okay, back to the script. Whereas he began his business career as the only black engineer in the Missile Defense Division of Western Electric, now known as AT&T. Whereas showcasing his entrepreneurial skills, Mr. Bowling opened Cosmos One, a nightclub that later expanded to include a restaurant, a meeting place, a wedding reception venue, and a private party hotspot. Whereas, heeding to growth demands, he changed business locations for an expansion, moving to Freeman Mills Shopping Center, where he owned and managed the shopping center for approximately 29 years, which became the new location for his new and exciting disco club that yielded the name of Cosmos 2. Whereas Mr. Bowling's experiences in the disco world led to him being elected to the International Disco Association, the IDA, Steering Committee, and as a panelist of the IDA Atlanta, Georgia Conference in 1977.
Whereas additional, he was the owner and operator of the Vineyard and MC Square and co-owner and consultant of Trevi Fountain Incorporated. Whereas Mr. Bowling fought for progress and advocated for business development in Southeast Greensboro, as well as for minority-owned businesses. He co-founded Southeast Economic Development's SEEDS, and as a result of his focus on equity, he inspired the founding of the Other Voices Leadership Program. Whereas in collaboration with Beta Epsilon Boulay, the Guilford County School System, and North Carolina A&T, he developed and hosted an African-American Male Leadership Summit to address issues faced by young African-American males. Whereas Mr. Bowling served many local organizations, including the United Way of Greater Greensboro, the Greensboro Chamber of Commerce, served as the NCA&T Basketball and Football Public Announcer, PA, the Central Intercollegiate Athletic Association, CIAA, and Middle Eastern Athletic Conference, PA, served as a member of the Mayor's Committee on Drugs, the Mayor's Committee on Human Relations, the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, the Greensboro Men's Club, the National President of the American Bridge Association, Sigma Pi Phi Fraternity, Beta Epsilon Boulay, the Board of Management of Hayes Taylor YMCA, and founded the Dudley Alumni Association, DAA, where he served 2 terms as the national president. Whereas he was recognized and awarded with many honors, including being named a delegate for North Carolina to the White House Conference on Small Business, was the recipient of the Greensboro Merchants Association's Circle of Excellence Award for Sales and Marketing, received the Nathaniel Green Award for the Greensboro Area Chamber of Commerce, received the National Association for Community Leadership Distinguished Leadership Award, received the Greensboro Chamber of Commerce Other Voices Change Agent Award, was inducted into the James B. Dudley High School Educational and Sports Hall of Fame, Hall of Distinction, Inc., received the Achievement Award from Dudley Alumni Association, the Tau Omega chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, Inc., the 2013-2014 Citizen of the Year Award, was inducted into the North Carolina State University's Forever Club, and served as the Grand Marshal for the 2021 Martin Luther King Annual Parade. Whereas Mr. Bowling was remembered as a competitive bridge player, where he was ranked 33rd nationally for years, for his love of golf, chess, table tennis, computer graphic designs, and for being a licensed private pilot. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Greensboro that the City Council wishes to express its sincere loss and offer its condolences, sincere appreciation, and gratitude for the many years of dedicated community service by Richard H. Bowling. The legacy he leaves will be remembered not only by the residents of Greensboro, but nationally as well. That a copy of this resolution shall be delivered to the family of the late Richard H. Bowling as a symbol of the gratitude of the residents of the City of Greensboro for his contributions in the community and across the country.
Move the resolution.
Second.
So that was moved by Mayor Pro Tem and seconded by Mr. Holston. Council, please vote. Is there anybody here?
Yes, his
from-
wife is here, Ms. Trina Bowling. Would you come forth? And any other family members that wish to come?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Good evening. I'd like to thank you for honoring my husband, Richard, and for acknowledging his contributions to the city of Greensboro. Richard was very passionate about each of his endeavors, and each one was done to bring attention to an issue or a cause or a group of people or to a problem. It was never about him. His goal was to make a difference, to improve the life of someone, or to make something better. He had very strong work ethics. He said he got that from his father because he had to get up early every morning and milk cows before he went to work, to school. He also had very high expectations of himself and for anyone that worked on a committee with him, and I'm sure some of these people standing behind me can attest to that because they were in organizations with him. And he expected the best. He was a perfectionist, but it was out of love because he wanted to give his best. I hope that you will remember him. You will also remember his legacy and what he was striving to achieve. Some of you will remember him as Mr. Cosmos, Mr. B, Richard Bowling, but I will remember him as my soulmate. Thank you very much.
As,
Did you?
We are now moving on to
Mayor, I
item-
think Hugh wanted to
Oh, I'm sorry.
speak on
just a couple of few words. The resolution is quite extensive, and Trina's words were also very helpful. I will tell you that we've lost a real pioneer in our community, a real legend. If you knew Richard, you knew that, well, one thing, you always knew where you stood with him. There was no question about that. But as Trina said, he did that out of love. His words, his passion, his drive was out of love. And he was one of the early economic development drivers that we had in our community. And we've been fortunate to have him, and we're fortunate to have Trina here. We're fortunate to have the organizations some of the organizations that Richard was a part of, from Omega Psi Phi to Sigma Pi Phi to the Men's Club, here supporting him and supporting Trina with this resolution. So I want to say thank you all for coming and supporting Trina. And Trina, thank you for being here. Thank you for all you've done over the years, and we really do appreciate you.
And so I just want to thank Trina for sharing Mr. Boland. He has left, seriously, a legacy I think is going to be very hard to match in so many very ways. But as the member of the NAACP MLK Parade Committee, it was our honor to have him as our Grand Marshal and to recognize him in that way. And certainly, we probably had no idea all the things he did do, but certainly he honored our parade, and we're grateful for that. So just thank him. Thank you all for everything, for supporting him, because he was an awesome man, very awesome. Thank you.
Mrs. Abusawader?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And Ms. Trina, I want to give my heartfelt condolences. Trina and I worked together at UNCG many, many years ago, and she was just always just such a perfect lady and just so smart in everything she did. So, I just want to give you a virtual hug and say I am so sorry about your husband, because I hear all of the wonderful things that he did to help make our community great. Thank you for sharing him.
Thank you. Okay, we will now move on to item E4, which is the Mayor's Committee on Persons with Disabilities Scholarship Recognitions.
I promise. Good afternoon. My name is Paige Sprinkle, and I'm the chairperson currently for the Mayor's Committee for Persons with Disabilities. And as part of our committee's annual activities, it's our privilege to be able to present the award for the Stephen L. Kinnear Memorial Scholarship for Outstanding Students with Disabilities. And I'm going to take the next few moments to be able to share about these deserving students standing behind me, and to thank some of the folks that have supported them on their journey. So we are so proud to be here today as a committee and to be able to present this scholarship award. To date, we have dispensed over $17,000 worth of scholarships to 30 different students throughout our history. And this scholarship is designed to help high school students who are enrolled in Guilford County to pursue their post-secondary education or vocational training education for the upcoming fall. And this annual scholarship was created in honor of Stephen Kinnear, who was a lifelong community advocate and active member of our committee. So this year was an extremely competitive pool. We had a record-setting 12 submissions, and we've narrowed it down to be able to award 4 well-accomplished students with scholarships today, totaling in $3,000. So first I'll share about each of our students, and then I'll invite them to receive their scholarship amount and be able to take a picture with Mayor Vaughn. So our first student recipient is here with me. This is Caitlin Foster. She's from Northwest Guilford High School. She is a decorated honor roll and teacher's choice student and has been described as conscientious, committed, caring, trustworthy, and competent by her teachers. She's received a service learning diploma and has earned over 600 hours of service learning with her volunteer work. And in the fall, she plans on attending WorkSource East to be able to obtain a certificate in childcare, which may explain why 200 of her service learning hours were specifically in the childcare field. And finally, her teachers have described that it is a privilege to see her grow into the wonderful young woman that she is today. So thank you for letting us celebrate you. Our second student recipient is Shania Love. She's from Western Guilford High School, and unfortunately she couldn't be with us in person today, but hopefully she's watching remotely, and we'll celebrate her nonetheless. Do you want to show her check? So Shania is an honor roll student. She earned Student of the Month in 2019. Her teachers have noted her strong work ethic, her level-headedness, and her eager engagement in the classroom. She's an active member of her community, participating in the Girl Scouts, her church, as well as the Greensboro Alumni Delta Cultural Enrichment Center. She plans on attending North Carolina A&T University to major in supply chain management, and she already has a very strong background in this field due to her work with distribution and logistics programs that arranged different resources during the pandemic for Guilford County schools. And she is described as a talented, compassionate person who, quote, has a profound impact on her friends and those around her because of her positive outlook on life. So Shania could not be here with us today, but we appreciate the opportunity to celebrate her. Thank you. Jonathan, you're up next. Our third student recipient is here with us. This is Jonathan Brown from Greensboro College Middle College. Jonathan is a student athlete who also serves as an athletic trainer. He's active in his community and volunteers at both the public library and with communities and schools. He plans on attending GTCC in the fall and is interested in the areas of athletics and in criminal science. Jonathan's teachers described him as a respectful, kind, funny, and caring person who has earned their respect time and time again. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Glad you could be here. And this is our fourth and final student that could be here with us today. This is Christopher Moy. I hope I said your last name correctly. From Wesleyan Christian Academy. Christopher is a student athlete swimmer, and he works as a lifeguard and swim instructor. He also balances a part-time job at Lowe's Foods in addition to his already very busy schedule. He participates in his community, volunteering with the local food bank, with the Special Olympics, and with his school's Breakfast Buddies program. And Christopher has already been accepted to attend High Point University in the fall and plans on focusing on criminal justice. He's already indicated that he has a very strong desire to protect and serve his community. And Christopher has been described by his teachers as being a curious and passionate young man with a strong servant heart. Thank you for being here today, Christopher. So, congratulations to each and every one of you. I also want to give thanks to the people who have nurtured these students and all of their accomplishments, because behind each of these folks there are supportive and compassionate parents, family members, friends, and teachers who have been guiding and lifting these young leaders up. So I would like to have those members stand so that we can recognize and thank them as well. Thank you all very much for your love and support. I know our community is definitely a better place because of your efforts. Lastly, I'd like to thank some of the members of our Mayor's Committee that are here today that have been involved to promote this scholarship opportunity, who reviewed the applications, and ultimately selected these outstanding students. So those members include Robin McGraw, Jackie Hawkins, Lisa Walker, and Dr. Lindsay Herron. So at this time, I would like to welcome all of our recipients to take their group photo with Mayor Vaughn and to receive their scholarship awards. And please, one more time, help me congratulate these outstanding students. Feel free to go up to the front, everybody. Sure, yeah, Jeff, take your picture with Shania. That'd be great.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Right.
Thank you, Jeff. Oh, you'd like me? Sure.
I just want to offer all of them congratulations, but especially the young lady going down east to Goldsboro. That is my hometown, so let me just tell you, good things come from Goldsboro. Oh,
It's
okay. I'm sorry. I'll say it again a little bit louder. I understand you're going down to Goldsboro to go to school. That's my hometown.
Oh, that's amazing.
Isn't that a fit? It is. So good things happen there. So congratulations. Good luck. Okay.
And if I could take a little bit longer of your time, I would like to be able to ask for some direct support from the City of Greensboro to continue our mission. So the items such as these student scholarships and events such as our signature Shoppers Day event have up until now been made possible by the fundraising efforts of our own committee and our members. But the stability of these funding sources are growing more and more unpredictable in sustaining our committee's activities and operations. That's why our second purpose today is to request annual financial support from the City of Greensboro. Other mayor's committees with persons with disabilities, such as those from Raleigh and Durham, are receiving direct financial support from their respective cities to facilitate their operations and their signature events. And we see your partnership as a meaningful and strategic key to the long-term stability of our committee. And continuing to serve the community is a priority for us, and we can see from our community event feedback that it's a priority to the community. The fundraising tools that are available to us now, just to put it bluntly, are tentative. Our funding is relying on so many factors, like weather at the Folk Festival, a restaurant partnership and interest, and the availability of grants. So if one or more of these tools became unavailable to us in a given year, our ability to serve the community and their needs would be significantly hampered. So for these reasons, we're requesting annual funding from the City of Greensboro in the amount of $20,000. This figure would ensure that the valued community events can continue year after year despite any turbulence in our own fundraising efforts. And this $20,000 figure would also ensure that each of our monthly meetings, subcommittee meetings, and events would have communication access services in place, like sign language interpreting, real-time captioning, and audio and video descriptions, so that community members can participate fully without barriers. So we see your partnership as a key in securing the future of this committee and the activities that we provide to the community. And we appreciate your extra time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Paige. And I'm sure that the city manager will be able to find $20,000 in the budget to support this very worthwhile project. So if you could report back to us shortly. Thank you.
Thank you all for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am going to take the prerogative of the chair and move up one public hearing item, which is item H1, a public hearing for a resolution authorizing an economic development incentive to Project SAGE in the amount not to exceed $1,500 per job. This morning, the North Carolina Economic Investment Committee of the North Carolina Department of Commerce voted to award approximately $3.9 million in incentives towards HondaJet's expansion at PTI, formerly known as Project SAGE. HondaJet will be manufacturing their new HondaJet 2600 model. HondaJet will be investing $55.7 million and hiring approximately 280 people with an average wage of over $88,000. The state's vote is contingent upon economic incentive approvals from the City of Greensboro and Guilford County. We have been fortunate to receive a number of lucrative economic development announcements. They have been a long time coming. I am thankful to the General Assembly, the North Carolina Department of Commerce, the Governor, the Chamber of Commerce for supporting us on these game-changing announcements. HondaJet is a special company to Greensboro, our region, and PTI. We watched them break ground in 2007 with an initial investment of $100 million and an employment goal of 350 people. We celebrated with them in 2015 when they received their FAA certification for their innovative over-the-wing mounted engine design for their light business jet. We cheered when HondaJet expanded their operations in 2019. HondaJet now employs approximately 700 employees. They work closely with GTCC and NC Works to ensure a local qualified workforce. This is exciting news, and at the appropriate time, I move the item.
I second it. Second.
Mr.
Great.
Yandel, if
You got it. You covered it all. I'm good.
no, that's okay. If you would please give the presentation.
Sure. As you said, this is an incentive request for Honda Aircraft Company, also known as Project SAGE, which was evaluating an expansion at the Piedmont Triad Airport. Their locations they were considering also is Alabama and South Carolina. The incentives would be to expand the capacity and capabilities that would result in a capital investment of $55.7 million and 280 new jobs by the end of 2027. The average wage of those jobs would be over $88,000 a year, and none would pay below $15 an hour. The company is requesting a 5-year incentive in the amount of $1,500 per job. Again, as the mayor mentioned earlier, the company is also being considered for an incentive with Guilford County, and the NC Department of Commerce earlier awarded incentives for their contingent upon our public hearing as well as the county's. This is the slide you all should be familiar with. 25 jobs, Guilford County average wage, and the minimum investment of $7 million are all the minimum criteria for our incentive policy that they have gone past. And then staff recommends to council we consider this request of incentives for $1,500 a job. Again, the grant would be paid over 5 consecutive years. The 280 new jobs will be retained through a retention period, which we typically do of 2 years. The new jobs will be posted with our local workforce development board and will be required to host job fairs in each of their hiring phases. Here tonight is Mr. Marvin J. Price and Mr. Brent Christensen of the Greensboro Chamber of Commerce, as well as Mr. Jason Maroney and Stephen Grady of Honda Jet. Are there any questions?
Any questions? And I do want to say, Mrs. Hightower, that I believe these jobs are also available for the $250 incentive for people being hired through NC Works.
That's correct, and in impact zones. Mm-hmm. And in impact zones.
Mm-hmm. Actually, we would get a total of $500 incentive.
Correct.
Additional incentive.
Correct.
Right, exactly. So hopefully you'll have a hiring event in East Greensboro, closer to where those impact zones are.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for that.
So, any further comments? Otherwise, Mrs. Abuzawader?
I so wanted to say thank you and how exciting this is. I mean, you know, we've had some great economic development, as you said, Mr. Yandel, some great announcements, and here's another one. So thank you all so very much. I know everyone worked hard, and we appreciate the company wanting to expand here. Thank you.
I also want to thank you. When I toured, one of the things that I really was happy about and impressed with was the mentor program. Maybe you don't call it that, but you had students who were learning about the business of Honda Jet and what they did, and I thought that was great. So congratulations and thank you.
And then, Madam Mayor, I'll say simply that, in the past, we made some announcements about boom supersonic, and we used the term Greens booming. Now, Greensboro is jet setting across the world. I mean, this is just fantastic news. It's momentum. This is the result of all the investments that this council and our taxpayers have made, and they're all coming to fruition. And we're just excited that it's here, excited that we have this economic development team that continues to nurture them, and the council and the mayor and the city manager's office to provide the vision and leadership. This is outstanding news for Greensboro, outstanding news for our taxpayers, and outstanding news for our future.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So we do have a motion and a second. Council, please vote. And that passes 8-0. Thank you very much for your investment. We will now move to the public comment period. Now is the time for speakers from the floor on non-agenda items. This is an opportunity to hear from anybody wishing to speak. Generally, this is a time of listening for council. The subject will be noted, and if requires action or a request, the city manager will note as such and provide steps for any required response or after action. Please leave your contact details with the city clerk to facilitate any communication. Madam Clerk, could you tell me if Tiffany Corbett is on Zoom?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Then let's start with Tiffany.
Hello, and thank you guys for having me. This is my first city council meeting. So I am glad to be here and see how this goes. And
excuse me, Tiffany, is your camera on?
It is. Should I turn it off?
No, we'd like it on. Unfortunately, we're not seeing it on the screen. But continue, please.
It should be on. Yes. I'm sorry if you can't see me. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Please continue.
The reason why I was asking to come on today is because I am a new homeowner to the city of Greensboro. I have lived here for over 10 years now, but I rented here. And I'm not just a new homeowner, but I am also in a neighborhood that has an HOA. So there are a lot of things that I'm learning that I didn't previously have the knowledge of. And this neighborhood that I'm living in is a nice neighborhood. And of course, the HOA wants to keep it that way. But my question to the city is, with the houses in the neighborhood being built so very close to each other, there are a lot of city ordinances that tend to, it seems like, bother the HOA, that these houses are not built to really comply with when you're building homes that are 3 to 4 bedroom, 2-story houses. So you're going to have a few vehicles in single driveways, and you're saying, you know, you can't park your car within 5 feet of your driveway. You can't block the sidewalk when the sidewalk runs through your driveway. So it's like a constant barrier in the way these homes are built. And it's almost like there's no logic to the thinking of the folks who should be the liaison. So what does a homeowner do other than appeal every single ticket because there are people who are constantly calling, requesting the city come out?
I would ask code enforcement, Mr. City Manager, or somebody to reach out to Ms. Corbett and take a look at what that issue is. Obviously, the HOA has their own regulations, and we'll have to see how they fit with the city's ordinances.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our first 3 in-person speakers are Del Stone, Keith Peterson, and Malik Hugh.
Hi, I'm Del Stone with WOA. So there's more to discuss here today than anyone could fit in 3 minutes, per usual. To give this council possibly the only credit I'll ever give them, they're not directly trying to reduce that, so that's nice. But they are, however, trying to censor us, making sure that we can't disrupt the conducting of what they acknowledge is the people's business by implementing this new rule that they passed tonight to ban speakers from the chamber who are considered disruptive. This is directly a result of residents of the city speaking their mind on actually pressing issues. The mayor and other council members act like we're coming here purely to interrupt the people's business, when in reality, everything we talk about is the people's business. We talk about police brutality, the housing crisis, the pathetic pay levels for city workers, the evictions that are causing more and more of our neighbors to become homeless. We talk about the economic base at the root of these problems, the systemic reasons so many of us are poor and struggling. We bring up issues this council doesn't want to address. So let's be clear, this is why City Council is implementing a ban on disruptive speakers, because there are serious problems they don't want to address, and even as they say they are afraid of their constituents, they don't want to do anything about these issues. One of the issues officials don't want to do anything about is police violence. In the past month, we've seen Greensboro police officers kill 2 people and yet another officer fired for sexual assault. That's the 4th such case this year alone. 2 murderers and 4 sex offenders, and we're just halfway through the year. There are systemic problems here, and there are cultural problems exacerbating those. 1 sex offender in a department is a travesty. 2 is cause for alarm. 3 is an emergency. 4, that's a culture. The police department knew about Miguel Garcia's sex crime on May 31st of this year, yet kept him on the payroll until finally firing him on June 23rd. Multiple witnesses saw Officer Garcia abusing his power by cornering a mentally disabled woman, yet the department slow-walked his firing for weeks. And instead of addressing these issues, this council votes for police pay raises and new cop cars. Instead of addressing the root causes of the 36 homicides we've had in Greensboro this year, city officials move to increase police patrols, not give money to struggling households, not help the families of the murder victims bury their dead, which many can't even afford to do. This city increases policing with the staff of officers who committed 5% of the homicides themselves. We don't come to city council meetings because it's fun. Y'all are boring up here, let's be real. We come because there are important issues you refuse to address. We speak because there is people's business you actively neglect. And we disrupt because the business as usual that abides the poverty and violence we have in this city should be disrupted.
Hello, City Council members. Hello, Nancy Vaughn, to all of them. Even Sharon, how you doing today? So, look, I have been planning and I've been looking at a lot of things statistic-wise of the city. I have now trying to rebuild my city, rebuild my parks, and now I'm really trying to get my homeless off the streets. I'm talking to a lot of my homeless members, and I'm really feel like we need this housing stuff to be approved. And now, I feel like if y'all bring the pilot houses back this year, I feel like we need to bring them back for a lot of my peoples, not just the homeless. A lot of my homeless members outside, we are still trying to figure out what we're going to do about the hotel situation or what we're going to do about this the next day. But we really are asking for the city to help us fund for us to have 2 new organizations to come in and serve us breakfast from Tuesday and Wednesday, because now we have to figure out where we're going to go get food from on 2 mornings. And now we're asking for city to change, to help make us change in our own city, because our city is needing that change right now, because we are looking at a lot of homeless members that do not need to be on the streets. I know we got health-wise. I know, Sharon, me and you had talked earlier this week on a lot of things, and I'm bringing a lot of focus to the grounds to a lot of my homeless members out there. I want to try to help them get off the streets this year. I want to put one of my goals is to try to help better my community, and I'm asking the city to help me, give me funding to help beautify my streets, because a girl in California in Skid Row has gave me an idea to come bring it to Greensboro. And I'm going to bring this idea to Greensboro to the streets. It's called Beauty in the Streets instead of Beauty to the Streets. I want to bring that change to Greensboro, and I want to make my homeless members feel like they can get a job out here and feel like they can go somewhere and be able to stand on their own feet and work every day, not just have to be sitting in a park every day, not sitting at no depot. I want my people out here, the homeless members, to get housing, and I want revamped housing. I want housing. And a lot of my members out here, I'm asking for the city members, even Nancy Vaughn, I know you've been trying to come out there. I know you've been trying to see what's going on. LaVon Johnson, I know you've been out there trying to come out there. I know a lot of y'all city members have been trying to come out there and see what we need help on. Yes, we need help on housing. Yes, we need help on this and that. But we want to know this. What can we do to change our homeless members to get them off the street? I know a lot of businesses don't want them sleeping in front of their businesses, and they wake up and they come into work the next day. Like, we need that change. Y'all need to figure out what y'all can do, and hopefully, city manager, this goes out to you too. And I hope y'all have a great day.
Thank you. Mr. Peterson, followed by Louis Medina, followed by Grace Carmen Garrett.
Good evening, council members. I'm Keith Peterson. I reside at 3317 Winchester Drive, where I serve as the HOA president and also a board member of the Southeast Greensboro Coalition. Council members, I need a point of clarity on how the process works. When citizens partner with city officials to address their concerns, and city officials fail to create a solution to their problems, and after having several meetings committing to some sort of action and fail to do so, what do you call that? On May 25th of this year, the Southeast Greensboro Coalition met with the public safety branches of our city to include some agents from code enforcement and some other state agencies for several repeat concerns that haven't been addressed. Since then, obviously we know homicides, burglaries, and assaults have occurred. And during that meeting, in previous meetings, we addressed prostitution on JJ Drive, businesses that are bad actors on Randleman Road from I-40 to Elmsley Drive, vehicles parked in the fire lanes at shopping centers. And during that May 25th meeting, the fire marshal stated that he would go by the businesses on Randleman Road to have an information session with the business owners to let them know the importance of keeping the fire lanes clear. However, in that same meeting, that very same meeting, parking enforcement stated that they will not write no one tickets in the fire lane just because they're running in the store to go get groceries. And in that same meeting, Attorney Andrea said, no, it doesn't work that way. So you have two city departments that's not on the same sheet of music. Police Chief Thompson, in a previous meeting in April of this year, said that he will create a 2-year plan for the community concerns in Southeast Greensboro. And at that meeting, he said that we can use our collaboration as a model. It's July 11th. We haven't heard nothing yet about their 2-year plan. Now, if someone says that they're going to do something and they don't do it, he's a city official, is it a mistake, I forgot, or they're understaffed? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Louis Medina. I'm the person that was reported as the disruptor, the repeat offender, and I guess the inspiration for Nancy Vaughn's change to policy. I want to address the fact that the City Council today has started using the term the people. They say it's the people's forum, right? They say we do the people's business here, right? Even Nancy Vaughn used the term the people. Make sure to get it in. And I wonder to myself, what is the people's business? Because we are being censored. You started this meeting by censoring the people, right? People have been coming here for 5 years talking to you about your brutal police violence. The same police force that just killed 2 people last week. The same police force that has 4 sex offenders this year. We got, I think we're the 6th month, we got 6 more months. Already 4 sex offenders. The same people who have been advocating that you take our tax dollars, right, and put these unsheltered people into homes. The same people that come here and fight tirelessly. I mean, some of these folks have been coming here way before me. Is that the people's business? Because I feel like that is the people's business. So you censoring us is actually the disruption to the people's business. But yet, I see you give millions of dollars to Honda Jet, and I imagine you must have all got paid because you're smiling today. The people's business, there's nothing here happens that is the people's business except that which the people bring, which I don't like to hear about. So, anyway, address the censorship. Y'all could ban me. In fact, I look forward to it because the struggle would just be brought to another stage as far as I'm concerned. You think that the way you decide the situation is to publicly ban somebody in like an economic crisis? Go ahead.
Grace Carmen Garrett, followed by Billy Belcher, followed by Juno Rondelli.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here because I saw a concern when I read the papers this morning on the front page. I am a former retired employee of the ABC. I was appointed to be on the board, and I went through my initiation, and I got a letter from Mayor Vaughn, congratulating me 1 week, and then the next week I got a letter saying that I couldn't serve because I had a relative that worked there. However, I did my homework before that, and in the bylaws it did not state that I couldn't be on the board if I had a relative that worked there because that relative would not have come directly under my jurisdiction. I would have only been over the managers and et cetera, and my relative was just a store clerk. But what concerns me is that I worked there and retired from there, also retired from the Postal Service. What concerns me is that you want to give a CEO that's only been here 19 months a $30,000 raise, but in the paper it says they wanted to go from $150,000 to $200,000, which means that the $30,000 would go first, and then they'd give him the $20,000 later on. What has he done? The prior CEO built several new stores, one on 68 where I work, and we were in the lower category of making money. Now we're in the top 3. She built one on West Market Street. She built one on Wendover Avenue. We have places in Greensboro, East Greensboro, that is on East Market, Randaman Road, Burlington Road, and Ring Road. Ring Road does pretty good because it's out there by Walmart. But the one on Gate City Boulevard recently had a black female manager, single mother, beaten within half of her life by 2 people that came in there when she was working alone. That should not have been. She stayed out long enough to not jeopardize her job. I'm here speaking now because I get from a lot of people that the morale at the ABC store is awful. We used to have people that would send out when someone died. They had 2 people to die and didn't find out that they were dead until 2 days later because nobody checked on them. He's wanting a raise, and all he gives his employees is 25 and 50 cents. I mean, the previous CEO did well. We had annual meetings. Does that mean my 3 minutes are up?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And normally you probably should have spoken when on the item for the ABC, but it appeared that you were signed up to speak for police, so it is a little out of order at the moment. But yes, your 3 minutes are up.
Well, I didn't tell them what I signed up for. I just put my name on it. This is my first time.
Understood.
So therefore, I did not know.
Understood.
But are you voting on that today?
It is later on in the agenda.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Okay. Can I stay for that?
Can she still stand up?
No.
You can stay as long as you like. Can she speak on that item? Or?
She just did.
So, because normally if it's agenda items, you speak on the agenda item.
Which is what I just said.
It's on the consent agenda, so it would have to be pulled off in order for her to speak.
Correct, but she did just speak.
But if I didn't know that and nobody informed me of that, this is my first rodeo.
No, I understand, but you would have had 3 minutes to speak when it was on the agenda item. You just spoke out of turn, but you still had your 3 minutes.
Okay, so me speaking out of turn was not my fault, correct?
Agreed.
No,
Yes.
it's not.
Yes.
Okay.
Would you leave your name and number with the clerk, please?
Okay,
Yeah.
I will do that, but I plan to stay for the end of this meeting.
Okay.
Because I'd love to see what the outcome's going to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Billy Belcher, followed by Juno Rondelli, followed by Paulette Montgomery.
I'm Billy Belcher from WOA, the Working Class and Houseless Organizing Alliance. I'm here to discuss public safety. As Councilman Matheny has said that he fears for his life at these meetings, apparently because of people like me. But I did not, and WOA did not bring the specter of death into this chamber. We followed it here. Police killing of Marcus Smith, right, that's what brought us here. When I watched the cops choke Marcus to death for no reason, I feared for my life because I am also subject to these same cops. And when I watched the police shoot Joseph Lopez in the head for no reason, or when I watched the police shoot Duke Crenshaw in the neck for no reason, I fear for my life because I am also subject to these same police officers. When I see that the police department is just a clubhouse for sexual predators and killers, I fear for my life because you have proven that you will not stop this violence. Y'all say actions have consequences, but you've never applied that to the police. Y'all didn't feel afraid watching your citizens die violently? It is strange that literal murder, continual death, doesn't seem to bring any action, but our demand to stop violence against the poor and the marginalized scares you into changing your attendance policy. As has been stated, Greensboro police officers have shot 2 more people in the last month and killed them, yet another police officer has been arrested for sexual assault. That's the 4th this year. What you call public safety is nothing but a den of thieves and racists and rapists and killers. Police exist to protect an unjust economic system. They are not there to protect people or to help anyone in crisis. They are trained to kill us, and that is what they do. And that is why the police must be abolished. I wish Matheny were here because his comments prove that he is nothing but a rich and overprivileged piece of pond scum, but I am glad that he, and hopefully you too, understand that violence is real and that the threat of death exists here in this room. But it is hypocritical and disgusting for any of you to claim you feel threatened when you are the ones enforcing and sanctioning rape and murder against us. And it is disgusting that instead of protecting citizens, you attack and censor people who are asking for protection.
My name is Juno Rondelli. I am here representing the members of the Communist Party of the United States of America here in Greensboro. First, I would like to make a statement from the party on this council's censorship of the people and revolutionary fighters here in Greensboro. This censorship is abhorrent, and you speak of trying to serve the people's business and serve the people. The people are over here who are coming up to speak. The people are here who are speaking to you. You serve the people of this city and of this stings, and I believe you should serve your constituents right. We will stand hand in hand with these revolutionary fighters, and we will defend our people. I am also here today to urge this council on another urgent issue. Nearly 70 years ago, on July 26, 1953, the Cuban people rose up against the dictatorial government in Cuba under the rule of Fulgencio Batista. These people lived in complete poverty. Only a third of people had access to water and electricity. Medical access was inaccessible to many in the rural areas. Many women were forced into prostitution to feed their kids, and men and young boys faced unsafe factory work and the horrors of the sugar industry for barely any pay. Batista, in 7 years, killed 20,000 people, all in the name to keep his power. But the people stood against this tyrant and ousted him. You would think, as one of our neighbors, we would stand with the people and the government of Cuba and allow them to have the freedom they fought for. But no. No. Since the 60s, the U.S. has kept a travel ban on Cuba and instilled a cruel blockade around the country. Things like food, clean water, critical medical devices, and other important economical instruments are barred access from the Cuban people. These cruel tactics, enforced by Congress and our president, are condemned by the world. Since 1962, most United Nations members have voted for the U.S. to end its embargo on Cuba. Yet the U.S. still threatens to cut political ties with any nation who sends aid to Cuba. I am urging this council to pass a resolution to urge President Joe Biden and the U.S. Congress to take Cuba off the list of state-sponsored terrorists and to end the blockade on Cuba. Allowing Cuba to freely develop without U.S. intervention and gain access to many needed supplies. Many city councils and state legislatures have passed similar motions, including in D.C., where a motion was passed unanimously by all members. The proletarian people in the Communist Party USA stand with the people of Cuba and for Cuba to have the freedom they deserve. Thank you.
Paulette Montgomery, followed by Niall Payne, followed by Derek Mobley.
Good evening. I'm Paulette Montgomery, and I'm here to address Mayor Vaughn on several items. The first is a new property tax increase. You stated you didn't vote for the property increase because we had too much revenue, and it sounded fantastic. Came across as if you're sticking up for the citizens of Greensboro. However, quietly in the background, you have been working on a food tax increase with KTS Strategies. Well, lobbyist is the more accurate description. This additional food tax is to support the Tanger Center and the Coliseum. Why not increase their attendance fees? Why should the citizens of Greensboro bear the burden of a food tax due to your egregious spending? My oldest is 23 and bought a condo a little over a year ago. Proud mom moment, used the $10,000 down payment assistance. His taxes have more than doubled, and that's before this most recent tax increase, and now you want him to pay an additional food tax. It's unconscionable. He's 23 years old. Also, Mayor Vaughn, you tried to censor activists over Marcus Smith. You arrested us and violated our First Amendment rights for chalking. Now you have replaced restrictions on citizens being disruptive at council meetings with you deciding what is disruptive. Can you honestly not see how bad that is or how bad that looks? Just what is disruptive? If someone comes in with birthday balloons and screams out happy birthday to Yvonne, is that considered disruptive? Just because it's not negative, it doesn't mean it's not disruptive. How are you going to distinguish what's acceptable or not? Sounds more like a dictatorship than a democracy. Maybe you should concentrate on why citizens are being disruptive. They want to be heard. Lastly, Mayor Vaughn, this one will probably throw you for a loop, but this is going around town on all the pages and in different neighborhoods and organizations. I would like to see if you would care to comment on the resurfaced allegations concerning Mr. Matheny being involved in a paid sexual act when he was arrested for his DUI. I would like to request consent to have the body cam footage viewed to clear the air of this allegation. If it's not true, there should be no objection. Furthermore, new allegations have surfaced about alleged affairs with several DGI employees. Is this the reputation Greensboro wants from a sitting council member? This is all over town. Everybody's talking about it. And if these allegations are true, how gross and nasty is that? I just don't see that for Greensboro. It's like we're in Trump world. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Niall Payne, and I came to ask for your help. Okay. How's that? I came to ask for your help. Over the years, decades, that people have been protesting, rioting, marching, asking for help with global warming. I think the government may have overlooked its strongest asset in solving the problem, the people. Never once during a march, a protest, a rally has anyone ever said we were not willing to help. I have what I think could be a solution. Scientists have for years told us that we needed to plant 1 trillion trees. The government of the United States has stated that they're planning to plant 1 billion. Well, 1 billion against 1 trillion is like walking up to a massive forest fire with a cup of water. We can plant 1 trillion trees if you ask us for help. Simply put, if you, City Council, would please place soil, seeds, and plastic cups. I brought one for an example, but walked over here without it. But the little temporary potting containers in the parking lots of every business and at our schools, all of them, from kindergarten to college, whether public or private. The magic number is 15. If we plant 15 cups a day, and I think that'll take 2 to 5 minutes on your way in and out of work or school, 15 cups every day for 12 weeks in spring and 12 weeks in fall, in the United States alone, we would have planted all 1 trillion of those trees in less than 4 years. That's something we need to talk about. I'm here asking you, I know I'm asking City Council, but that's because you are one of the steps that we can take, the first one to get this done. We don't have to wait for Congress to pass a resolution. We don't have to scatter. The cost is minimal. We already own equipment to pick up soil. We can take it from the parks, from the forest, deliver it, have us voluntarily scoop up soil and drop a seed on top, sit it down and walk away. That would give us time. That would allow us, in time, to reduce the CO2 levels back to pre-1960s. In addition, we would need to also remove enough CO2 on a daily basis to allow the trees time to grow. We can do that by changing the way we live slightly, stretching out the way people go to work, so that instead of having a first shift that starts at 8 to 5, it would be between 7 and 11, but we would fan it out. And then we would be able to, and then we would need to move the time that kids go to school, not the curriculum. Sorry.
Madam Clerk, could you give Mrs. Payne, or could you email her an application for our sustainability
I was thinking the
council?
same
I
thing.
think that would be a great border commission for you to take a look at, and I think you'd have a real big impact.
Thank you.
And we also have, on the Sustainability Council, I'm the city liaison for it, we've got a tree task force.
Okay.
So I know that you would probably be interested in that.
I've got a whole plan. I've been putting it together for years. I've got every little dot, I think, filled in, but I would love to meet with you. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
You do live in the city, right?
I do. My number is from Virginia, but I've been here 6 years and just haven't changed it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Good. Thank you.
We have Derek Mobley, followed by Christine Hopner, followed by Jason Hicks.
Hello, my name is Derek Mobley. I am a resident of the city of Greensboro. I'm here representing the Greensboro JCs. I just wanted to give you a brief overview of a survey that we conducted. So just so everybody knows, the Greensboro JCs are a civic group for young people between the ages of 21 to 40. So we're the local chapter here in Greensboro. And we wanted to do a survey of young people in Greensboro that are sort of in that demographic, 21 to 40, so not necessarily in college, but in early family, early career. And so we partnered with a few organizations to do this survey, so I want to make sure I thank them very quickly. It was Synergy Young Professionals, the Future Fund of Greensboro, Turning Everything Around, Jaloa's Upright Services, and the Greensboro NAACP. So they helped us distribute this survey, which was in an online format, so we could try and get the widest response possible. You may all have a copy of it. If not, it will come to you later. I have the final one. We had one absentee, so we should be okay. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about the methodology and then just give you some of the highlights. So what we wanted to do, we wanted to get people from, as many people from each district as possible, and we wanted to have them rank the city relative to other cities. So we're not saying, is Greensboro safe or unsafe? We're saying, do you feel safer here relative to a similar city? I thought that was a more interesting question that we could ask. And so some of the takeaways from the survey, positive side, young adults positively perceive Greensboro as a diverse, family-oriented city with low traffic and lots of green space. Young adults negatively perceive Greensboro as an unsafe city with limited entertainment options and expensive housing. Young adults would like to see more affordable housing, better public transportation, and a wider variety of entertainment options. A couple of things that stuck out. No one in District 1 said that Greensboro had better public safety than similar cities. They were also concerned about littering. No one in District 2 said Greensboro was better than similar cities for starting a business. And no one in District 5 said Greensboro was better than similar cities for securing a job. I don't want to focus, it's not all negative, but I I'm an economist, and we tend to focus on the negative first for whatever reason. So there's definitely positive stuff in there as well. Another thing that I noticed, there's definitely a divide. When you look at responses from District 3 and 4, they tend to be more positive overall than in Districts 1, 2, and 5. So we have sort of a net positive score, but when you break it down by the districts, you see people in 3 and 4, they feel like they're more connected, they feel like they know what's going on, and then people in 1, 2, and 5, I got this sense of isolation from some of them. So, as the JCs, that's something we're thinking we can work on. How can we reach out to those people? I got 9 seconds left, so the one thing I'll say, at the end, we have all of the individual comments. Obviously, they're protecting whoever the source is, but I would definitely encourage you to check those out. Thank you.
Christine Hopner, followed by Jason Hicks, and our last speaker is Jeffrey Wilkerson.
So if I can, before Derek goes, can we connect with you to see, because these have been happening for years, honey. This ain't new. We always been isolated. So we need to connect, because a change does need to happen. I agree. But we also have lack of broadband, lack of connectivity. That's why people don't know a lot of what's going on. It's not directed that way. We're more police than anything else. So I would love for us to connect on that, because you're absolutely right. There is a divide.
Yes.
My name is Christine Hoffner. I want to thank you for persevering for years to fight the Zara Jones gag order. I was thrilled you supported elected officials' duty to answer constituents' questions, and especially encouraged that Mayor Pro Tem spoke to the next logical step, which is asking for the release of that video. Now, I've got some questions that I'll go through and wait for your response. They're on your papers. I hope you'll get handed your papers, and on the screen. And I'll come back to this graph. So, whoops. First, about the Jones body cam video. Oh, these are not my questions. Can my time be? Thank you. Oh, that's good. And then, yeah. That's good. Yeah, thanks. All right. So first, on the Zara Jones body cam video, question 1, who's watched it unedited? Were the men arrested treated fairly? Was the repeated tasing justified? Number 2, Mayor Vaughn, you said you'd watched the video years ago. And did you watch all of it? What made you think Jones didn't have a case? The tasing the cell phone showed left me amazed there wasn't a case. When there's such a difference of opinions, that's exactly what needs to be released. So what's happened with Mayor Pro Tem's ask about releasing it? Some may think Attorney Rasabi is right that no one cares anymore. And we're back to the graph. But then look at the huge racial disparity this GPD data shows. Can we stop again? It's like mine at home. So this is GPD data showing a huge racial disparity. It covers the 6 years after that tasing up to just last year. So just take that in. Question 4 is, doesn't that data show why the video is relevant as a matter of public interest? Time's short. Question 5, perhaps, pertains to last month's meeting, and there's other questions that I want to get to. So at last month's meeting, Mayor Vaughn gave 2 reasons refuting a standing policy to petition for video release. Here's what I don't understand about them. About the lobbying the legislature in the bounds of the law and relying on Chief Thompson. 6. Oh, good questions.
Can you stop? Yeah.
She has about to do.
Modifying the current law to disclose video means you all can see it, but it doesn't include public viewing. What are you missing here? And do you think that the law rules out a standing policy for you to institute for video release? If so, what are you going on? As for Chief Thompson, he's appointed. So what does his individual policy on video release have to do with your duty as elected officials? What's in the way? Well, I'll end. Is this a new censoring device? I think so. All right.
I would like to ask if that graph came out of GPD, I would like it to define what use of force is, because as it has been described, and I believe in the directive, a use of force can be simply moving somebody, but that when police lay hands, that they have to report it. So I think in order to put it in context, there should be a definition.
Yes, we can provide some. There's a broad category for uses of force. It is the control. It could be the control. It could be different levels of uses of force. Quite natural. I think a lot of the narrative is talking about deadly uses of force. But again, we can provide counsel with, a more descriptive information relevant to use of force and some of the statistical information relevant to the stats that you saw.
Thank you. Mr. Hicks?
Good evening, Council. Unfortunately, most of my prepared remarks went back and forth with Mayor Vaughn today on Facebook. We had I guess, a healthy discussion. I don't know. But nonetheless, so I just want to say that, to use the words of Mayor Vaughn, this morning around 9 o'clock, an exploratory, in your words, an exploratory committee was formed to look at the possibility of having Mayor Vaughn recalled. And I'm only speaking about it publicly because I don't want to follow in your footsteps and do things that need to be done publicly and private. So I think that, one, I want to make that aware, but also, two, I just want to say, and this is solely my opinion and not any organization I've ever spoke on behalf of or with before, but there is nothing that, what's the right word? Nothing about being condescending and gaslighting folks and lying and doing things in private and being disrespectful. There's nothing about that makes you anything other than a disgraceful mayor. And I think that the reality is, according to the Guilford County Board of Elections, it takes 8,240 signatures to put you to a recall vote, based on the total number of votes that was cast in the last election. And I think that that's a real possibility, given that you only lost to Justin Outling by 425 votes. And we won't get into why, but that's another conversation. But, I think that the issue isn't, for me at least, and this is me speaking, I didn't get to say this today, and that's why I came this evening. To me, the issue isn't so much about the tax. It's more about the way that it's been handled. Because one thing that you said today was that as far as a perceived conflict and all these other things, was that you wanted to keep it quiet, and you addressed that, and you answered, and you said that was because of the general election, which was the county commissioners, I'm assuming. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Okay,
No, I'm answering his question.
Okay.
So, yes, our election was in July.
Right, of course.
Clearly, that post that you referenced said September.
Mhm.
Our election was over then.
Right.
This was, and as I said in my response to you, this is a city issue, and the election was state and county, and we wanted to keep it a city issue.
Okay. Well, the only person that was on that email thread that was up for election in November was Skip Alston.
Right.
And the reality is, if you're willing to fall on the sword for him and lie and do all these things in private for him, what are you willing to do for yourself? That's the way I look at it. I mean, it's that simple. And I think that the larger issue is that you step down from DGI board, but then you are having emails sent out through DGI's board, which is asinine. And that doesn't make sense. And there's no way to justify that. You know, I think there's some other issues that have come up this year. But we'll see. We'll put it to the citizens and see what everyone has to say.
Yeah, I look forward to a healthy debate, and it's interesting that people say I did something. I actually think it's kind of funny that people are saying that I sent out this secret email, but it went out on a listserv, and anybody who's ever been on a listserv know that that's not secret and can be forwarded to thousands of people. I asked DGI to send that out because they had a list of restaurant owners that I did not. And as I said in that email, which has widely been distributed, that this would be the first of many meetings, and that if people couldn't come to a meeting, I'd be happy to sit down with them one-on-one. We will be talking to all different stakeholders. So I'll be happy for a healthy debate.
Well, I do have one question, if you would. Just entertainment. I'm just curious, does the city not maintain a list for ALE, alcohol enforcement, or business?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Interesting.
And we are going to close out with Jeffrey Wilkerson. I was actually hoping we would close out with Mr. Hicks, but I understand that your sign-up got lost. I apologize.
No, it's okay. Thank you. First off, I want to say, can you hear me? All right. All right. Thank you. First off, I want to say thank you tonight for this. I didn't ever expect to be in this room, and I see y'all have so much responsibility on a day-to-day basis. And what my thoughts are coming in here to address is, it's important, but it's merely what y'all handle every day. And I'm here tonight because we do have a problem. We do have a problem with the youth that unfortunately feel like no one cares. And I have been trying to inject myself with the Sheriff's Department and trying to have my time and put time into going to the jail and talk to these youth that's in there, that they very much need to hear what reality is going to be for them. They're really like one nail away in the coffin forever. And it's sad because I've been here 24 years in Greensboro. Not perfect, but I know what I've been doing for my son. My son's 17, an honor student, gotten a great opportunity, never been out of his life. No matter what adversities that I had to deal with, I knew my obligation every day was going to be protecting him. And I say that where the fallback is his friends, who I've been attached to for many years, who don't have fathers. And they look up to my son with a admiration of, you're so lucky because I'm there for him. And through my journey and personal experience, I know I took it upon myself to make sure that them kids that, unfortunately, where my decision made me rectify things and really, you know what I'm saying, never look back, I made sure I talk to them every day. Don't come to me if you're not going to hear about escaping this, bettering yourself. You have a chance, you have an opportunity. Don't let a room full of men incite you to believe, you know, this is cool. It's not. It's embarrassing. It's deplorable, and it's not fair that no one is in that positioned in that room with the leadership of some offices, the way it really is, in a way that I can explain it, if you treat a person and approach them with respect, you're not going to get an aggressive tone. You got a lot of people that the proper supervision, that people on shift are not there to monitor certain things that escalate for no reason. And then it confuses the point of someone who is gathering their thoughts when they by themselves, how they're going to do this, how they're going to handle this. And then you have authorities making it worse. But then you don't have nothing in there for them to have an outlet. No type of, it took weeks to get and beg for a Bible. I mean, you just locked and stuck. And I apologize that I wish I had more, but that's what I was here tonight, to see if I could be directed in a way.
Your time is up. I would ask Mr. Davis, if it's possible, could you put Mr. Wilkerson in contact with Letitia McNeil? I think they may be able to find a way to utilize his passion.
Absolutely. I think Mr. Wilkerson and I met a few years ago, so I'll meet him outside and get his information.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is the end of our speakers from the floor. We now move on to our consent agenda, which are items G1 through G8.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Holston, seconded by Mrs. Thurm.
May I remove G8, please?
Yes, is this time sensitive? Can it be on our next meeting?
It's retroactive to May 30. I'd rather.
Okay.
I would rather not.
I can vote no, because that's what I plan to do.
Okay, if you were moving it to vote no, that's fine. So
with many of
we
the
have a
issues I
motion.
heard
The
tonight.
consent agenda was moved by Mr. Holston, seconded by Mrs. Thurm, minus G8.
G8.
G8. Council, please vote.
The ABC board salary.
And that passes 8-0. Now I need a motion for G8, which is a resolution approving the recommended salary for the City of Greensboro ABC Board Manager. It is important to note that that is paid through ABC funding and not city property tax.
And
Second. Moved by Mrs. Hoffman, seconded by Mrs. Thurm. Council, please vote.
Madam Mayor, I'm having a technical issue with that item. Can we do a voice vote?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
That passes 7-1.
And
With-
so, at the end of the session, I have an additional question on this particular item that I'd like to know about.
Okay.
Did H1.
Item H1, we have done. Item H2 is a resolution to transfer
Well,
508.
You got general, this one down.
We just did that. We
Okay.
did that one. Resolution to.
When did we do it?
That's Honda Jet.
Huh?
That's Honda Jet.
We already did.
Under general business.
Yes. Oh, I should say that's Project Sage.
Project Sage.
Well, we
was
done
in
We did
there.
it already. Item I2 is a resolution to transfer 508 Pine Street and development agreement of 48-645 with Habitat for Humanity of Greater Greensboro.
That's not the item.
Madam Mayor, I believe we're on I1.
I-1.
That's what I'm saying, Madam Mayor, resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry. I read the wrong one.
You're a roach can pull them, you're trained, you just
I know,
look 'em
I
up.
need to pay attention.
You do?
Sorry.
I'm gonna get you.
I1, a resolution accepting transfer lease with NCDOT for 602 South Regional Road. This was postponed from the June 20th City Council meeting.
Move the item.
Moved by Mrs. Thurm, seconded by Mrs. Abusawader.
So, Madam Mayor, because I did vote no, I don't know where our button is. I can't to press. And so I did remove this from the last meeting because I wanted to get a little bit more information on the transfer of the lease, the purpose of the lease, the purpose of the land, which sometimes it's good to pull these items so you better understand what's going on. My main concern was that a suggestion for the use of the land had come from one of our citizens, and I wanted to make sure we fully understood that. So I believe, Mr. Davis, we have a path forward now with the transfer of this lease to do something that I think our community's been asking us to do, is help get these tractor-trailer trucks off the streets. And this will allow this to kind of be a landing place for that if we look at the idea and suggestion that came from the private individual. So I just want to know what the path forward will be after we pass this item.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hightower. And I got to say, I can't take the credit. ACM McCray and Transportation, really Hannah Cockburn has done a lot of work on this for, I'm going to say, well over a year. We've fielded these complaints, a number of different departments to include GPD responding to trucks that are in some of the areas, to include residential, and in areas that are just bothersome to some of the residents. Also, our parking enforcement and transportation has worked on this. And I'm going to kick it over and ask Nasha McCray to talk a little bit about that path forward that will come out of transportation to serve all of Greensboro and not just a few areas, with what I feel like is going to be a great opportunity for us as a city to really address an issue without punitive results for some of these folks.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. As he stated, we've worked very closely with NCDOT regarding the transfer of the lease of the property on Regional Road. We do believe we have a really robust path forward on managing that particular property to accept it not only as is, but also some other specifics within that lease arrangement. Moving forward, we will work closely with the city's MWBE office to qualify particular operators. As you stated, Councilmember Hightower, we work very closely with that private individual to provide some guidance, given their knowledge of the trucking industry. And so we will continue to do that to make that opportunity available, not only just with this particular property, but we also are exploring some other city-owned properties throughout the city as well.
I appreciate that effort because I think it's going to address a bigger problem that we have moving forward.
Did we vote on that?
Not yet.
Okay. So it was moved by Mrs. Thurm and seconded by Mrs. Abusawader. Council, please vote. And that passes 8-1.
Madam Mayor, I had one other thing with Nasha, Ms. McCray. With transportation, I would like for us to look at Webster Road and the path. I've gotten multiple complaints that tractor trailers are riding that road on their way to another lot, which is down Webster Road. It's on the very end by Randaman Road, and they would wish that they would, and I know that's may be hard, but we got to figure a way to reroute them to Randaman so they go to that lot. It's a quicker access, and it doesn't go through these communities. I got a call today, got a call yesterday, and I understand. So if we can look at that, that would really be something I think we can start to work on as well. So.
Yes, ma'am. We'll follow up with you post this meeting to get more details.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, item I.2 is a resolution to transfer 508 Pine Street and development agreement of $48,645 with Habitat for Humanity of Greater Greensboro.
Move the item.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Mrs. Abuzawader. If there are no comments, council, please vote. And that passes 8-0. Item number I.3, a resolution to approve the 6-year maintenance and support contract in the amount of $8,219,917.02 with Motorola Solutions.
Second.
If there are, that's been moved and seconded. If there are no comments, council, please vote.
So I noticed there was, Madam Mayor, I noticed there was no MWBE memo attached to this. Can someone explain to me, is this just a sole source service?
Yes, ma'am. There is an MWB waiver attached. It is a sole source specific to Motorola, which is the system that GM 911 uses for this service.
And they're the only company that does it? I know we've been using them for years.
Yes, specific to the product, the Motorola product that GM 911 uses for the radio system Motorola has to provide.
Gotcha. Okay. No potential for mentorship, joint ventures, anything of that nature. Just knowledge, learning. No opportunity.
From my understanding, specific to the particular product, the equipment that's used by Motorola, they have to be.
Okay. I just didn't see a memo, so maybe I missed it. Thank you.
Councilmember Hightower.
I voted. I thought I hit it. Maybe.
We need to vote on this.
And that passes 8-0. Our last item is I-4, resolution approving $1,200,000 addendum to the management and operations of transit services agreement with RapDev USA, Inc.
Move the item.
Moved by Mrs. Hightower, seconded by Dr. Wells. If there are no comments, council, please vote. That passes 8-0. Let's see, boards and commissions real quickly, Sharon?
I don't have any tonight.
Hugh? Mary Kay? None this evening. Mayor Pro Tem? Goldie? No. Tammy?
None tonight.
Nancy?
Yes, I'd like to appoint Jane Cannon to the library board, replacing Tim Hanlon.
And that was Jane?
Jane Cannon.
The seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes 8-0. Now it's time for council comments. I'll start. I'll be brief. I was out of town last week. I was really pleased to see that the first 10 take-home cars were presented on Friday, and I understand that additional 30 are in process. So our first 40, which would be the first 2 years, will be delivered by the end of the year. I also appreciated that the chief did a press conference addressing violent crime in our community and issuing a call to action with community members. I know that Sharon and Goldie both spoke, and that Mary Kay and Hugh were also in attendance. I think that was very important, and I think it's probably something that we should do more often. I did want to say that we had the World Ninja League Championship at the Greensboro Coliseum, which really surprised me. I hadn't heard about it. This was June 23rd through the 25th, the same time a soccer tournament was going on. There were 4,184 participants.
Little ninjas.
Ninja. So it was like the American Ninja that you see. It was just like that. They represented 40 states, 7 countries. Of this number, only 264 were from North Carolina. So that means more than just about 4,000 participants and their families were from outside of North Carolina. That is really huge. They actually had people from Canada, France, and Russia attending. So we have events like this going on in our community that we're not even aware of. At the same time, it was the ECNL Boys National Playoffs. Over 300 soccer teams, 6,000 male players, 13 to 19, 400 college coaches and professional scouts, 18,000 plus total attendees, over 18,000 room nights, and each team stayed a minimum of 4 days. So when we talk about tourism and the amount of money that comes in from people who live outside of the city of Greensboro and outside Guilford County, these are people who are eating in our restaurants, they are shopping in our stores, and they are staying in our hotels. And we have events like this going on all the time, and we need to do a better job of getting that information out. These are huge numbers, and quite frankly, we are in jeopardy of losing these championships and these types of things if we do not maintain our facilities and stay competitive. So I just thought that those were kind of two fun facts. This was a great meeting today. I'm really pleased about Honda Jet and their recommitment to PTI Airport. You know, we used to talk about the Better Home Seal of Approval, something like that. I think when you see a company like Honda Jet say that they are going to expand at PTI Airport, that really says a lot about the business climate that we have here in our region, and it also shows the commitment that they have to hiring local by working through NC Works and GTCC, and we know that the school system has their aviation program. That's really what we're looking for. We're looking for our people, our residents, to fill these jobs, and today was just another great announcement. You know, for years, we were looking for announcements in the millions of dollars, and this year alone we have eclipsed $5 billion. You know, Greensboro is greens booming, and we just need to make sure that everybody in our community benefits and that we raise our entire quality of life. So I'm very excited about today's announcement. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I want to thank the manager, and I want to thank the Greensboro Transit Department for the beautiful bus. I was at Fun Fourth on the July 4th, almost passed out. It was so hot. I was trying to wait for the people to set up the cameras to say a few words about the bus. But anyway, I sat on it and got cool, so it's a great bus. But it's a wonderful addition and a wonderful way to make people aware and educate and to honor those that need to be honored. So I thank you for that. I know that was a short notice, but you get an A. And the Greensboro Department of Transportation gets an A as well. Thank you so much.
Mary Kay?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It seems like it's been quite a while since we've actually met, so there's a whole lot of things that have been going on in the city. Let's see, June 28th, several of us took the tour of the Toyota compound, all of the land in Julian Liberty area, and I just want to say that it is massive. They're going to have cafeterias. They're going to have child care. We talked a lot about transportation and involving the Piedmont Authority for Regional Transportation. Just a whole lot of things going on where, you know, people can go and work there and have everything taken care of on site. Medical facilities, it's going to be massive. So that was very exciting to see. June 28th, the Human Rights Gala at Piedmont Hall. Thank you to everyone who attended. Thanks to the Human Rights Department for putting on such a wonderful event. July 4th, of course, all the festivities downtown and throughout the city. July 8th, just this past Saturday, it was an amazing day at the Hayes-Taylor YMCA with the Building a Better You program. It was sponsored by Cone Health Center for Health Equity. So many wonderful organizations and resources for the entire community of East Greensboro, and they're very excited. They're going to be doing it again. They're going to be doing it several times, perhaps another one in the fall or early spring. As the mayor mentioned, last Friday there was the rollout of the first take-home cars for officers, and I know she has been a major advocate for this all along, and in fact helped push this forward. We actually approved this in 2021, and one of the officers at the rollout of the cars mentioned that there were issues that delayed the cars so much. So, Mr. City Manager, you have been blamed for a lot of the delays on these cars, but it was laid out that there were certain components, certain parts, that there were supply chain issues, and I know you've taken a beating on that, and he explained that it was not the city manager's fault, that it was supply chain issues because they were ordered in 2021. My last item, I wanted to say we are all concerned about the violence, and yes, there was a press conference last week. I also want to say that on Saturday, June 24th, Officer Corey Johnson, with the support of his GPD colleagues, Grimsley High School, Crime Stoppers, Mothers Standing Against Gun Violence, Families Against Senseless Killings, and the DA's office all came together at Grimsley to try to have the children, have the high school students understand and learn what violence does. To hear the mothers, to hear the fathers, to hear the families who have lost children to gun violence. It affects everything. In the press conference, it affects our whole city, because that child or that person or that young man who lost his or her life knows coworkers, knows colleagues, knows teachers. It affects everyone when someone is murdered in a senseless killing. So I appreciate that there was the press conference, and I also appreciate that this program was put on a Saturday for students, because when they listen to this and how violence affects everyone involved, cousins, aunts, uncles, sisters, brothers, churches, everyone, it might make one person stop and think just a little bit before they go out and commit an act of violence. So, you know, we've all brought attention to this, and I also want to mention very briefly Crime Stoppers. Yes, Crime Stoppers is a great way to put tips in about anything, drug activity, incidents, help to solve homicides, and it is completely anonymous. So 373-1000 or P3 Tips. You're given a number. No one ever finds out who you are. In 40 years of Crime Stoppers, no one has ever been identified. So please get that word out. I think it could really help in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holston.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I will briefly say that the Honda announcement combined with what's happening at the Toyota site, as Councilwoman Boozwater said, we were there. As far as you can see, there's growth, there's building. It's going to be a massive complex. We actually even thought that maybe it could have its own zip code. And Mr. City Manager, if there's a way to reach into Randolph County and bring that in, we'd love to have you do that. There have been a lot of good activities going on. A lot of council members have been to a lot of things over the past 2 or 3 weeks. But I'll start here. On June 27th, Councilwoman Hightower and I had the honor of attending the retirement celebration for Chancellor Ed Fort at North Carolina A&T, and it was a fantastic event. Dr. Fort, who has technically been retired for some time, but this was the official recognition of it and the celebration by the Chancellor. and the Board of Trustees. And I tell you, he's a great man, and hopefully he'll be back before this body in the near future when Councilwoman Hightower and I want to recognize him even further for the city of Greensboro. But I do want to talk about the press conference sponsored by Chief Thompson and the Greensboro Police Department just this past week. The one thing that really hit me was that as I was sitting in that press conference and listening to the chief discuss his plans, discuss how GPD cannot do it alone, I was sitting there having just come literally down the highway from the funeral of a 22-year-old young man. And it's just very impactful. We have got to do better. We have got to do better. I don't know if that's proper English or not, but we've got to do better. In our community, as the chief said, everybody has responsibility. Right now, I believe that there are a lot of people in our community who believe that someone else is going to handle this issue for them, and that's not the case. We're going to have to be present. We're going to have to be active. We're going to have to be engaged. We're going to have to get burned a little bit. We're going to have to see some failures, but we're going to have to fight through this. Our community deserves it. I started off talking about Honda, started talking off about Toyota, and I said it before. They're coming here not just to make widgets. They're coming here to live and to work and to play. And this violence is hurting that aspect of our community. No, we're not in this alone. It's impacting everyone. But again, don't fall into the trap of thinking that somebody else is going to do it for us. Each and every one of us is going to have to step up and say no more. You hear the term see something, say something, or snitches get stitches, whatever it is. Those are all sometimes self-serving statements. And it's time for us to step up, step in, engage. It may cost us some money. It may cost us some time. It may cost us a little bit here and there. But in the long run, our entire community is going to benefit from it. Listening at that press conference to Irish Spencer and Tanya Cuthbertson, who've lost loved ones. At the funeral that I was in Durham County, lost loved ones. The shock on the faces of the friends and family members of that 22-year-old young man will never be forgotten. They'll never be the same. And we've got to find a way to fight through the mess. It is not about politics. It's not about who's getting credit. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about lives. It's about legacies, or legacies lost that'll never come back. So, Madam Mayor, that completes my statement.
Thank you. Thank you. Those were very impactful words. I will say that Nasha just sent me a text message following up on all of the great announcements, and perhaps you can say what's happening tomorrow.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just received word from our Parks and Rec Department. As you were mentioning, Bryan Park and the wonderful things that are happening with the tournaments, that the Today Show, with the National Today Show, will be on site tomorrow morning at the Truist Soccer Complex to film teams that are participating in the United States Association for Soccer, their soccer festival. And so what that festival entails is teams coming from across the country. They're 50 and up. That will be competing, and so the Today Show will actually be filming participants that are 70 plus competing in the soccer festival that starts tomorrow and runs through Sunday. So we're really excited about that. Our communications team will be on site in the morning, and we'll hopefully get some really good footage. But I wanted to make sure to share that with you all. Very exciting.
And that is very exciting. That is getting national exposure. And we have such a great soccer complex. We have to make sure that we maintain it, or we're going to lose this type of exposure and all of the people coming in to visit our great city. So let's see. Mrs. Thurm.
Thank you. I just wanted to add on to what Councilwoman Abaswader and Holson said about our visit to Toyota and remind the public that Toyota is now accepting applications. They're already hiring. You don't have to wait until after the factory is open. You could go to NC Works and talk to the folks there, tell them that you want to put in an application. All the applications are going through NC Works, but they are actively looking for employees and hiring people now. So go on down and apply if you're interested. Also would like to remind everybody out that National Night Out is just a couple weeks away. That's August 1st, Tuesday, August 1st. I believe the time period is closed for communities that are wanting to participate. But if you're in a National Night Out community, please. They have 90 already. They have 90 communities, our neighborhoods already signed up. So that's a great number, and we all look forward to attending that. The other thing I'd like to ask Mr. City Manager is if sometime in an upcoming work session we could get the future of participatory budgeting on the agenda. We've got a commission that was getting ready to really buckle down and start work for the upcoming season. And right now they're on hold because they're uncertain with us pushing out the allocation for PB from the last cycle until the next budget year. They're not really sure, nor am I, of what the future of PB holds. And I think we as a council need to discuss that and where we want to go forward. So if we could get that on the calendar sometime soon, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Nancy?
Again, this was wonderful news today about Honda Jet. You know, I know we're always concerned when we have employees who just don't work out for one reason or another. And, you know, we've had reference to a couple of the police department situations this evening. I was reminded, I was made aware several years ago. Sometimes, you know, you're told about something and just kind of tuck it away at the time. And I was made aware of a police agency assessment, a firm that's located right here in Greensboro, as a matter of fact. You know, they've existed for, I think, about 40 years. They do all levels of assessment for police agencies. I think they have about 800 agency clients at this point and operate in 17 states. So it was just, you know, I just rethought about that in the last week or so. So I got in touch with Chief Thompson, and he actually said that he knew of them. And so, you know, perhaps, you know, I think he's going to reach out to them. And, you know, it just might be, you never know whether it's the right fit or whatever, but just was something that was on my mind that I thought about doing this week. So thanks very much.
Thank you. Goldie?
Well, I don't want to just keep repeating what everybody said. I'm glad we had the press conference last week. It concerns me deeply because it affects our districts 1 and 2, and that came out in the press conference last week that we have. But I'm concerned because it really is our community, destroying our community. And I'm afraid that sometimes when you hear these facts, it causes the other communities to say, well, that's their problem. What the JCs discovered that we already know is that the people in 1, 2, and 5 don't have the same level of life as the people in 3 and 4. Therefore, they would have a different perspective on what Greensboro offers. So that wasn't any news, but it should be a concern of ours, so that would not be the facts. And we're talking about the different people who are coming to Greensboro. Today I went on a tour with a group of people here from the National Gospel Music Workshop, which is a large event for African Americans who are in the music industry. And we took a tour of Greensboro. They were quite impressed. And one of the persons on the tour said, when I'm thinking about a meeting that I work with, I think Greensboro could handle it. So if we give a good impression and the city extends all of the amenities and has all the amenities that these folk need, then we can be competitive when it comes to folks visiting. Now, we had a meeting that was scheduled, movie night that was scheduled for June 23rd at the Renaissance lot, but we were rained out. And so just watch for my Facebook page, because I can't get Ms. Wall on the phone, and I don't know what the new date is, but it's probably this weekend. But I'll put it on my Facebook page. But that movie night that was scheduled for the 23rd was canceled because of rain, so it's been rescheduled. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you. I do want to say Mr. Davis said that National Night Out, that has been extended to the 14th for new neighborhoods to register.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Mrs. Hightower?
So thank you. First and foremost, Mr. City Attorney and Mr. City Manager, I just want to reiterate my request for body-worn camera footage for the last two shootings. I requested that. I understand there has to go through some legal processes, but I just want you to know I do want those, to be able to view those as well. The other things, and I have a few things here because I have not said much the last couple of weeks. The other thing is requirements out of planning department. The lady who came and spoke about her getting tickets because she can't park close to a driveway. This is not a new issue. I've been dealing with this issue with one of the developments out on Mount Hope Church Road. And it is troublesome that we're allowing developments to be designed so that the driveways and the properties are so close together. But we have an ordinance that says you can't park in front of a fire hydrant. You can't park 25 feet within a driveway. You can't. So literally, there's nowhere for anybody to park if they don't have enough room. And nowadays, with people and families having more than 4 cars, once your child turns 16, you got to buy them a car. So if you got a car, your wife's got a car, 2 children got a car, there's nowhere to go. And while we want to make sure we're enforcing our ordinances properly, we got to look at this to be fair. Are we allowing developments to be designed so tight that they are creating violations of ordinances? So I would really like for us to look a lot more closer at that because I think we need to change some of those design requirements. So secondly, I want to talk about, well, first of all, let me say congratulations to Dr. Fort. Mr. Olson and I were there for his second retirement. Very youthful, 80-some-year-old gentleman who has committed to serving the educational academic community. He has a passion for that. And so it was great to honor him and remember him. And June 28th, when we had the Human Rights Gala, congratulations to the 5 Morningside Scholarship recipients. One of them was valedictorian of Dudley High School. So these are very smart, highly intelligent individuals who are getting some financial assistance with their college future. They're going to be anything from judges to lawyers. I mean, so it's really, they're certainly an asset. And so it was great to honor them last week. Also, Mr. City Manager, a few months ago, we voted to have the next area plan be the Southeast area plan. I know you were wanting to have a particular or planner to help guide that process. Now that the budget has passed, that position should have been in the budget. When will we look to recruit someone to that? Because I don't like us committing to do something and then it taking months to get stuff started. I know I heard some concerns tonight about things people want and they haven't heard back. It's been 2-3 months from hearing even back on some updates. But I'd like to know when we can move forward on getting this planner so that we can start to have the meetings around what an area plan means, how we want it to talk about, if you will. Can you maybe, if you can't give me a little synopsis now, let me know when we can start to move forward on that.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I know the budget year effectively started like 10 days ago or 11 days ago, so I think that we're in a good place. What I wouldn't want to do is to rush into it, but we've got to kind of define what the outcomes will be. Like I said, I think I said this before, what I saw, at least my understanding of planning, is that it needs to be redefined what exactly an area plan looks like. And I think that we're having good conversation right now with, I think I had a brief conversation with Crystal at the beginning of this meeting. Our goal is to make sure that we're aligned in terms of their expectations, what outcomes will be, what area we're talking about. And I know that Nasha and team are having a very fruitful conversation with them right now. So at some point, we'll come and brief council on where we are. But I'll make sure that once I have information from them, I can share that with you as well.
Okay, thank you, because, you know, we want to make sure we engage all the residents that reside in that area, because
Yes.
they all have a stake in this
Yes.
as well.
But once we do, I know that the budget included the position, but since we're now in this new fiscal year, we'll be defining what the timeline is to bring in that person on board.
Right, because there's no need of us starting a conversation until we got somebody that's really going to be laser focused on trying to make this area plan be something that will be able to be enforceable and help with the area. So I'd like to see how we can move that forward. Also, we did have a press conference, collective call to action this past week. I think a lot of things have gotten lost because people have wanted to talk about their own personal agendas. But what really we need to be focused on is that, particularly as it impacts Districts 1 and Districts 2, District 1 had 13 black deaths. District 2 had 14. You had 14. I had 13. 3 of those were black females. 10 of them were black males. So we lost the focus on why we really were talking about a collective call of action. It is going to take all of the community, but we've got to get to the root causes of what is driving this violence. And I said that on this past Friday. But what that means is that we've got to start looking at ways to intentionally invest in these areas of concern. How do we impact these communities? What are we looking to do to build them up? So just like we talked about the jobs tonight, great, good deal, jobs coming, $88,000, fantastic, okay? But how is that going to impact people who live in these areas who need their economics to improve? Because as long as you're living in poverty, you're going to try to figure out, how do you survive? What does that look like? So does that violence drive you to kill your fellow man? I mean, we have to really be intentionally serious about remedying this, not just a press conference, not just a news story, but to get down and do the work that is going to impact the communities that really are affected. Yeah, there's a stigma and a stereotype around, oh, East Greensboro, which is really false, because I live in East Greensboro. Been there for years. But does the violence get the highlight of the day? Yes, it does. So we just need to make sure that we are impacting those communities, investment, jobs. The jobs that we talked about coming, let's do some hiring fairs in these communities. Don't ask them to drive to Randolph County, because they might have transportation issues. Don't ask them to drive to the airport. Let's bring it in to the community to provide accessibility. We are not being inclusive. So it's nice to have these jobs, but I can't celebrate until life is better for these residents. That's when we will celebrate. So I just want to make that clear, crystal clear.
I would really like to see NC Works and others get into the high schools, because they do have customized training for these jobs. We need to make sure that our seniors know that they can get free training that can really lead to a career. And maybe NC Works can work closer with the school system, but I want to make sure that every junior and senior realizes that these jobs are within their grasp.
And we can help the youth, but let's help their parents too. Because if their parents aren't working, they're not helping the youth is great. But if their parent can't pay a light bill, can't pay a water bill, then we're not making a greater impact that we could. So that's where we can't have these impact zones and not impact the people that are in those zones. And that's what we need to be focused on. We had a great event, yes, Saturday. Cone Health and partners, many partners who were there to do Building a Better You. But you know what? Even that, it's all right. It was nice. I enjoyed it. People were great. But it's highlighted around the fact that there's still inequity. We die 10 to 15, 20 years earlier than our counterparts on the other side of town. So when JC talked about there's a divide, absolutely divide. Absolutely. Been that way. Getting worse every day. We are leaving this earth before our counterparts. We have to fix that. Is it a mobile health unit? I don't think so. We got to do more. I think that was a great start. That's why they want to do it more often and more often. But we got to talk about brick and mortar, community health places, health and wellness. Because if you go to the 27406 zip code, 27401, 27405, which is what they talked about on Saturday, there is a health care disparity. And that needs to be fixed as well. I will say, I'll give you a couple nice little things. We had a nice little MUSEF on Sunday. We had to move it from Gateway Garden down to the Van Dyke Center, but it was a nice little turnout. Unfortunately, we didn't get, the rain rained us out. And then finally, condolences to a Miss McMillan, who is one of our oldest senior citizens at 107 years of age. She will be funeralized on Friday at 12 o'clock. So she was 107. And she lived on MLK. So, and I just got a call that we've got another one that's 107, and she just passed. So even though I talk about us dying earlier, God has been good to these two ladies. So maybe they grew up eating something different than we eating, because we're eating too much fast food. So, thank you. Thank you.
I'm not playing in tomorrow morning's soccer game, just so you all know. I think I will not be on the Today Show.
And I won't either.